Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Wrist Cheese Radio Podcast. I am your host, Brodinkee. With me, as always, is my good friend Schmidt. Schmitty, what's going on this week?
Not a whole lot, my friend. How are things doing with you?
Really good. It was a really good week. Just a lot of hanging out with the kids, not too much stress, really focusing on the content creation. I thought I put out some pretty funny stuff this week. So, all in all, a pretty good week overall. How about yourself?
Yeah, man, it's been pretty straightforward. I got another big business trip lined up for next week, so I'll be back out on the road. But things are going well. So it's nice and exciting, and getting ready to get back out there. But recording another episode today, so couldn't be more excited.
Very good, very good. And we got some exciting stuff coming up today. Not only did we get some exciting news, especially from a camp that you're very fond of, but we also have somebody joining us tonight, which we will get to. I'll try to skip through the business end of this real quick so we don't trim off too much time. But I thought we had to probably touch on the Volcane Revolution Second collab because we talked about it last time.
Yeah, it's kind of we touched on it. We didn't really know what it was gonna be, and then it dropped, albeit maybe a day early.
Yeah, I can never tell if it's a day early because I don't know if they're counting the
Time zone change.
time
maybe?
zones, right? So I don't know if it's technically after, like if they're playing with the international date line or not. Like if it counts that it's because the first people who get the new day are that whole area of like Australia and the islands to the east of that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I get that, but
But I'm saying, so like if it's the day there, do they just say to hell with it, we drop it? Or
no, I don't think it works like that.
I try to figure it out myself. I don't know.
As far as I understand, most brands that I know of have done embargoes or press releases or something like that. They create a universal time. So typically in Switzerland, from the US, it's depending where you're at, 5 hours, 6 hours. I think for me it's 6 hours. So they will launch the product in that respective time zone and then simultaneously release it in all subsequent time zones, regardless of what time it's at.
Okay.
So we kind of got the release of this watch on January 25th, which we all had known from the social media advertisements was supposed to be January 26th.
Right.
Yeah, that was I think a little bit of some moon swatchiness happening over there.
Well, I was wondering if it was that, or maybe it was intentional because the Omega drop was coming out the next day, and you don't really want to try to battle headlines with something that they're teasing that hard.
I mean, I get it, but you had already leaned into like that was going to be your drop.
Oh, no doubt, it looks dumb, but what?
So whether it was a mistake and somebody released it too soon, or it was the brand pivoting to like, oh crap, we're not going to compete with Omega, let's release this early. They released it, so here we have it. What do you think?
I mean, it's all right. It's a cricket. We like the cricket. We put up a little poll just to kind of take the temperature of the room. I don't think everybody was that impressed. For better or worse, I think we could describe it as it's got sort of the Vulcan hand symbol dead smack in the middle of the handset, and it has it's usually a funky color, and then the tip of I think it's the alarm hand is the same color.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah,
I believe so.
It's all right. I don't know if I love it. It's cool. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm with you on that. Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think it's a cool watch from the novelty aspect. If you're a Star Trek fan or somebody that grew up watching that, and it's kind of a romantic thing for you, then I say go for it. It's a cool watch. It's nice to see Volcane doing something that's a little bit more fun, especially with Second. So they're doing some funky stuff, but for me, all in all, it's not my personal favorite. I would have loved to see them incorporate the Vulcan hand symbol in kind of a different way than just the second hand, where it kind of spins around. It just feels like something's missing to me when I look at it visually. But that's just it's a minor gripe. Don't let that dissuade you from going out and getting it if you really do like it. So go check it out.
Yeah, I think it was one of those things where I didn't know what to expect. And so from that aspect, I don't want to say I looked at it and was like, this is it. But like, I didn't know what I was expecting. Like they had such a fun bunch of little teasers and all these little funky ads. I really didn't know where to place it. So I didn't know to expect something crazy or something sort of just nuanced. And, they gave us something a little more subtle,
Yeah.
and not that that's better or worse. I just think it was, when you drum it up like that, you kind of get people's minds going, and
Yeah. And
hard to
again,
gauge.
one thing that's interesting is they never really, as far as I saw in any of the communication, it never really talked about it being related to Star Trek.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like Vulcan, let's just roll with it and, kind of use like an emoji to represent it. Because I don't know if this is even officially licensed by Star
Right.
Trek,
Yeah. That's always tough.
and that's kind of, that's kind of interesting because it's IP technically, potentially, I don't know. But I mean, maybe that's another aspect that we haven't considered. Maybe these watches will be super desirable if, Star Trek decides to put a shebang on them.
True. True.
I mean, who knows?
Yeah. I actually, I wound up going to Red Bar this week, and I actually saw somebody had I think it was an Air King with a Secon hand on it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. It
That's
was like,
that was kind of the first thing he started doing.
yeah, it was like that pixelated sword hour hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty cool. I mean, it was just neat to see it. And people are like, "Wait, what is this?" And I was like, please let me explain. Felt very aficionado, but
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
but
Very
cool.
plugged in.
Yeah, but it's cool. It's like a cool little thing that if you know about it, you're like, oh, I know what that is, right? Like,
Yeah.
so aside from that, a release I know you're probably very, very excited about, right? We got now. Can you confirm, is this Spirate or Spirate?
I think it's spirate because it's apparently, according to the articles I read, it's a mixture of words between spiral and rate. So to me, that would
Okay.
indicate spirate.
Okay, Spirate. So it's not Spirate. It doesn't have anything to do with Somali pirates, for the record.
No, it's not.
So I guess why don't you take us through this one, because you're going to be up on it as anybody.
I mean, so I think for a lot of people, this was kind of a surprising launch. In many ways, I myself was also surprised just from the
Yeah.
fact that I didn't really know what to expect from the teaser photos that Omega leaked, about 3 weeks ago now. And I think all of us were kind of hoping for something a little bit more substantial in terms of what we thought it was going to be. And I think a lot of people assumed that it was going to be a high frequency movement or a new Dark Side of the Moon collection, because this is the 10-year anniversary for that. But one thing I don't think a lot of people considered, myself included, was a celebration of the 10-year anniversary for Omega's anti-magnetic technology. And that's really what this new watch is coming in to do. So this is a Speedmaster. It's part of the racing collection, and it's a new model. You guys have already seen it by now, I'm sure, called the Super Racing. It is a new timepiece that debuts a brand new technology for Omega and for the watch industry itself, called Spirate technology. And essentially what this does is allows a watchmaker or a technician at an Omega store, apparently, be able to fine tune the silicon hairspring in a way to give realistically an unparalleled level of accuracy for a mechanical timepiece.
Yeah.
I mean, you tell me, bro, you're a Grand Seiko guy. What's the average, kind of seconds per day for a spring drive?
Spring drive is ±1.
Plus or minus 1 second a day.
Yep. And that's with a quartz oscillator.
And that's insane. So to
Yeah.
put this into context, because that's what I had, done my research, and that's kind of what I wanted to confirm, because I know you are the GS guy.
Mm-hmm.
This is a mechanical watch that will be calibrated to 0 to 2 seconds a day.
I saw that.
So we're talking an insane level of accuracy. And basically what the Spirate system does is it allows the technician to fine tune the hairspring by changing its stiffness. Because one of the best things about silicon hairsprings is they're incredibly shock resistant. They're impervious to temperature fluctuations because they're not metallic.
Right.
They can't be magnetized because they're not metallic. So there's a lot of great things about it. The problem with silicon hairsprings is you really can't adjust them up and down the way that you can do a traditional metal alloy hairspring, right? And that was always a big complaint from a lot of traditional watchmakers is they can't repoise the hairspring, they can't adjust it, they can't tweak it in a way that gives them a little bit different accuracy. You can do that with metal, but the problem with metal is the other three factors, right? Shock, It's not anti-magnetic. It's not temperature resistant. It's going to be a influence. So there's going to be a trade-off. So what I think spy rate really does is it allows for a fine tuning adjustment of the hairspring itself by a watchmaker to give you kind of more of that attribute of adjusting a metal hairspring, but in doing so, not sacrificing anti-magnetic properties, not sacrificing shock resistance or temperature resistance. And this is going to basically allow the oscillator, the balance wheel, to breathe and oscillate in a more concentric way, which is going to give you better accuracy for longer periods of time. And this is not an inexpensive watch. I think it's 11,000 US.
Yeah.
It's a few $1,000s more or so than the current Speedmaster Racing that is Master Chronometer certified as well. It's not a small amount of money, but I think in terms of what it's going to mean for the industry, it's a big leap. As much as it may have been a surprise to a lot of people, again, myself included, what this does technologically for Omega is just further push them away from everybody else. And for me, this is important because when you have brands like a Tudor that's coming out with a master chronometer movement, right?
Yep.
And they're selling it. This is just upping the ante that now, okay, yeah, you came out with master chronometer. Well, now we're already on master chronometer this and master chronometer this. And oh, by the way, we've created master chronometer with this technology in it. It's pushing that level away and widening the gap further and further and further away. So although this isn't what I thought it was going to be, I'm pleasantly surprised.
Pleasantly surprised.
I'm pleasantly surprised that Omega is continuing to push the levels of accuracy and even better themselves from where they were already, a few years ago.
Yeah, and now follow me here. I might just be grasping at straws, but with the name being Spy Rate and all, and everybody always griping that Bond has never worn a Speedmaster. I'm just throwing it out there. This might be a fun candidate for a Bond watch.
I sort of think so, but I think the biggest hang up on the franchise, honestly, and why they probably don't want to put him in the Speedmaster is just the fact that historically, the SBS, the Royal Air Force, the Royal Navy, they were actually issued Omega Seamasters. So
no, I know that, and it's too much. It cannibalizes their marketing anyway at that point.
Although Felix Leiter in No Time to Die wore Speedmaster Racing.
Interesting.
Yeah, there was actually a lot of auxiliary Omega watches in that movie that a lot of people didn't know.
Very interesting. I didn't know that. All righty. So with that out of the way, we will get to our main topic here tonight. And we actually, like I said, we have a guest with us. We have Haim Watch Co. with us. And I guess rather than me going on and on, I guess I will let them take it away. Why don't you introduce yourself, sort of the brand, and what type of watches you make, and what are your goals, I guess, overall?
Schmidt, bro, hey, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
So I get into that. First off, everyone, my name is Zakir. I'm the owner, founder, mastermind behind Haim Watch Company. Small micro brand based in Chicago. Started off in 2020, and the beginning of 2023, here we are, and I'm on the verge. Well, this will come out on Monday, right?
Yes.
So as of Monday, I would have officially announced the new model. So before I get into all that, I have a question that's just been burning at the back of my mind.
All right, let's go. Reverse interview.
What's the purpose behind, what's the concept or the meaning behind wrist G's? Are you talking about like when you just wear your watch and it gets gunk on the inside? Or?
Right. So that's the formal meaning of the term wrist cheese.
Right.
And so our joke in naming the show that was this wasn't going to be just your typical show of, a guest in an interview every episode, and we're going to talk about, the latest stuff that's on Brodinkee and this and that. It's going to be sort of whatever we want to talk about. It's going to be, we're not going to be afraid to just say what's on our mind, say like things that we feel about, whether it's the industry or the landscape, or give honest opinions about watches. We honestly, I think I'm going to speak for both of us here. I think we feel like there's a little bit of sugarcoating that goes on because people never really want to upset other people, and you don't want to damage potential brand collaborations or partnerships, or, put a negative tone on anything. And look, I get it. I don't want to mess up anybody's business or anything either. Like, I'm not trying to sit here and ding people's watches so that people don't buy them. But if something's not a hit for me, I'll tell people it's not a hit for me. If it might be for you, it's not a big deal. But we've always tried to kind of give that unfiltered aspect of things. And so that's where we came up with the idea of the name Wrist Cheese Radio.
An alternate nickname could be Horological Smegma.
That is something. I guess that is a way to go.
Ever since I heard Wrist Cheese, that is what came to my mind, and it's just burning. It's been burning a hole in my brain. So I'm happy just to get that off my chest. So now we can move forward.
If we ever have to rebrand,
there we go.
I'm gonna put that one in my pocket.
Yeah, there we go. That'll be the first pick.
So I started this brand in 2020. Initially, it was a passion project, and I wanted to make a watch for myself. I've been into watches for as long as I know. I've been collecting watches, and I'm an active member in the watch collecting community. Also, I have my own collection and so on. So I wanted to actually make something for me. That was all. Everything started off as a concept for me. I didn't have any intention that anybody else would want one or even wear one outside of me. And when I started showing it off, and I finally just got it to the point where I wanted to prototype. And after I made prototypes, I've shared it with some friends. And the first question I've received a response was, well, how do I get one? Enough of that where I decided, you know what, let's try it out.
Let's turn it up.
Let's try it out. I'm not at the point where I quit my day job yet, but hey, we're still going. And, just throughout the past couple years, I've been chatting with other brand owners and whatnot, and they've all said the same thing. The traction doesn't really necessarily kick in until year 4.
Yeah.
The first 4 years, it's a grind. It is a grind. Right now, everything, say for example, whatever I've invested in starting up and whatnot, I don't have an angel investor or nothing. It's me out of my own pocket.
Yeah.
So now the goal is just to recoup. And once you can recoup from there, then you can see about scaling and kicking things up a notch. So that's what ended up happening with the brand. A passion project brought it to life, and now I just continue to share visions that I have when it comes to watch design and such, and things that I want to wear personally.
And you sort of did the Anacar where you flipped your last name, right?
Yeah.
The brand name. So Anacar, I always looked at.
I wanted to come up when I came up with the name for the brand. I wanted it to be a namesake brand, and I just wasn't feeling the way my last name sounded on a dial. So my wife was, in all her wisdom, she was just like, "Hey, it's not that."
No, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, here we are. But then afterwards, once I did all the marketing and the go-to and everything, then people started commenting about a three-sister band. And for me, I'm like, I've never heard of them. I don't listen to that type of music. I can't tell you anything about them. I can tell you about the RZA, Jizza, Inspector Beck. And
yeah.
So, exactly.
That's great. No, that's cool though.
I've gone too far off the deep end at this point. I'm not going to walk it back. However, I do have future plans for the brand where a goal of mine is to actually do a sub brand with my last name. So one would be with the flip backwards, and one would be as it is. However, that one would be a different approach as far as the pieces go.
Nice.
But right now it's all a concept in my head, and it's just a matter of growing what I have now before I can even venture into it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and so right now you have 2 main models?
Yeah, so I started off with the first model, which is a chronograph, and I know a lot of brands kick in with the diver watch.
Yeah,
that's kind of the first thing. Hey, let's do a diver watch, and let's do 500 meters of water resistance. Personally, it's just something that's not my style. So it was for me. The whole thing was, hey, you know what? What's for me? I favor more some integrated pieces, but outside of that, I favor more chronographs and dress watches, which is kind of where I've decided to start off at. I wanted to do a chronograph, something where specific features that I have on my design that I did not see elsewhere. I just kind of wanted to put it together, which I did.
Yeah.
And then I decided, hey, I want to come up with a sport watch, not, somewhat toying in the dive category space, but not a diver. I
Right.
wanted it to be a watch that you can wear anywhere, whether you're at the beach in the water or if you go out to dinner. So that is the Descent. That one comes with two straps, leather and silicone. You can switch them out as you need. They both have quick release, but even when you check out the dial, the finishing on it, it's very dressy. So it
Yeah,
has
it
three
is.
different patterns of finishing on it. And I wanted it to be, again, because if you're wearing that a bit more dressed up in a more formal setting, it would be appropriate. Whereas when you throw it on a silicone or whatever utility strap you have and you're out in the water or somewhere else with it, it is very functional too.
Yeah.
And that's something I feel I did something that I have not seen before. When you talk about the bezel combines both the dive timer and a GMT in one. So if you're on vacation, you could use it to track a second time zone. And again, the whole purpose was, hey, one watch for everything. What can I come up with?
Yeah.
So that line, that family is going to stay. And ultimately, I'll come up with minute changes here and there, some dial updates, some different dial colors. But ultimately, I want to keep the entire essence of it. I want to keep it as is. As far as the chronograph, that family is called the Legacy. And right now, as of Monday, the 30th, or today, if this is when it's out, I would have formally announced the L2, which is the second generation of the Legacy family. And the L2, what I've been doing so far is I've been showing off all the components bit by bit. So I started off by sharing the case because I wanted to show the amount of detail that's gone into each and every part. The casing itself, the finishing on it, whether when you check it out, you see the polished finishing around the bezel, then you see the brush finishing on the side, the flat case back, the tapered down lugs. So when you wear it on your wrist, it hugs really nice. And for me, a big challenge I have is I have a small wrist. My wrist is 6 1/4. That's what she said. So my wrist is 6 1/4 inches. I couldn't help myself. Sorry. So it's 6 1/4 inches, and now I have to worry about a watch that I can wear, because if I come out with, say, a 42 millimeter Invicta-ish design or something, I wouldn't wear it. I personally would not wear it, and it would make no sense for me to try to release a watch that I myself wouldn't wear. And so with the L2, it's another chronograph, the second generation. I've made a handful of changes. The first iteration of it was running a Seagull ST19. I've decided to scale it down from an ST19 to a VK64. And the reasoning behind it is, one, again, I don't have an in-house movement facility. I'm not producing movements myself. I can't compete with, say, what Omega just released. I can't compete because I don't have the capability. However, I do have full autonomy on the case design as well as the dial design. So that's where I put all of my magic or emphasis, dial or design emphasis into. And with the movement, I wanted to accomplish a few things. One, I wanted to make the watch to be as textured as my traditional design language has been so far. This dial itself is 3 different layers.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to keep that traditional design language, but also make it thin. How do I accomplish still making it thin? And for a chronograph, this one comes in at 10.8 millimeters. Case and all, top to bottom.
Thin. That
is super thin.
Rather thin for a chronograph.
So if I with a mechanical movement, it would push it at 14 minimum.
Yeah.
And I didn't want that. I want this to be a watch that, again, all purpose, you can wear it anywhere, whether with your t-shirt and jeans or boardroom, meeting, out to dinner. If you have to wear it under a shirt cuff, it fits perfectly.
Yeah. Now, do you think you would ever? I mean, I know you said you're doing the VK movement now. Would you ever do kind of maybe a small production of mechanicals again in the future?
I do. I have some plans in my head, because as what I've learned since starting this whole venture is, when you prototype a watch or when you come up with a concept, from the time a watch is announced, it wasn't thought of. It was thought of over a year ago.
Yeah.
So it takes that much time to do all the rendering, the prototyping, the tooling. Because again, I'm not doing something where I'm buying a watch off a shelf and stamping the name on it.
Yeah.
Like, I am not doing that. Everything you see here is original, from the sketching, from the AutoCAD designs, and just from the renders, from the case tooling. It's all original stuff. And that takes time. So by the time this watch is announced, it would have been thought about over a year ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I do have plans where I'm thinking ahead, and what I actually wanted to do, because the feedback on the dials, I've already released on my socials. I've released the 4 different dials already, and the feedback for all 4 have been phenomenal.
Yeah.
I've been told that hey, each one has been a home run. I've been told that I've outdone myself. So,
well, I mean, the dial colors are amazing. I'm not gonna lie. So for just going through here, what I see is we kind of have, it's kind of like a 1930s, 1940s style dial, almost a little sector-ish, but you have a brushed silver with what looks like some gold indices.
Yep.
Then you have a pink, salmon pink. Oh, that's beautiful. Salmon pink.
Very, very nice.
Probably my personal favorite is this like turquoise aqua color.
Yeah, so that one is called Aqua Ocean.
That is just such an awesome color. I'm not gonna lie. I love this color.
It was just on vacation and I was in Panama. I was wearing this watch on the beach. If there ever was a watch that would epitomize summer or make you think about summer, it's this Aqua Ocean dial.
It's
have
beautiful.
Some pictures against the actual ocean background. I'll start posting those, and it's just gorgeous. Like this watch, when you stare at this watch, the first thing you think about are palm trees and linen shirts.
Yep. It is like when I think about the salmon and when I think about the Aqua Ocean, I just think Miami Vice. Like it's just kind of the vibes that I'm picking up, and I love that. I think the numerals are great as well. I like the fact that on this one you went with just kind of the simple, 12 Roman and then the regular indices. On the salmon, you kind of have the Breguet style numerals, which is very attractive to me. It's a little bit cleaner of a look, and I think the last one that you have here also has Breguets, which is like a dark midnight navy blue. Yeah, they're beautiful.
Right here, for me, it's a dress watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I had to choose one of these, if I had to wear something with a suit, it would be this one.
Definitely.
So the colors, again, this one would be, I call this one Gray Glacier. God, I can't find the camera for some reason. So this one's Gray Glacier. The salmon one is pink gold.
Pink gold, yeah.
Yeah, we love a pink watch on this show.
We do, right? We do.
And you know what? I was thinking about something because you guys with the charities you support and whatnot, and the fundraisers. I want to give you guys one pink gold once I get everything produced. Once it goes into production, I want to give one. I want to donate one and support your cause.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Thank you.
When are you expecting those?
So right now what I'm doing is I just started. So since it's just announced, I'm going to spend the next few weeks just doing promo. I will do all the promo right now, and then I'm going to open up pre-sale. I'll open up pre-sale and possibly so what I did with the initial, I wanted to see the response I would get. So with the Legacy SE and the Descent, I ran through Kickstarter. And what I've realized is it's not necessarily about raising the funds, but it's the marketing reach.
Yeah. That's true.
Without them, I would not have been able to reach customers in the UAE, in South Korea, in New Zealand, in Australia, like just across places that I wouldn't have done because, again, small brand. I don't have a marketing budget, so there are no marketing funds. So
you are the marketing budget.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So with Kickstarter, it served as a marketing service in that sense. So I initially for this model, I'm going to open up pre-sales initially just through the website because I am still toying with the numbers. But what I'm going to be doing is offering all 4 watches as a bundle. They'll come in a 4-watch roll, but it'll be all 4 dials, and it's just going to be at a very attractive price point. So for the straps, I am talking with the final and details with the partner. So they will be very high quality handmade straps. And actually, I'll say the name. So I've been in conversations with Deluxe.
Oh, very nice.
Oh, nice.
We
love him. We love him.
If all goes well and everything works out. Yep. So if all goes well and everything works out, then all the straps for the L2 will be co-branded with them.
That's
Oh,
excellent.
that is such a great partner to have. His straps are phenomenal. We've talked
A1.
about him on
Oh,
the
I
show
use them
many
personally.
times.
A1.
I use them personally. So
Yeah,
and
he's
also I'm a
good.
huge proponent of customization. You know, I feel like whatever strap that the brand chooses, you can always jazz it up and give it your own flavor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
everybody's different. Your skin tone is different. Just your preference is different. So, you know, there's going to be a strap that may cater more to your tastes versus what
And
the manufacturer or
and
what the
and
provide.
and didn't he come out with a nice turquoise blue, very similar to your dial color strap, I think?
I have that strap actually, and I did pair it together.
Okay.
For me personally,
Yeah.
it was just too much turquoise. I had
Okay.
that one, bro. That strap with the pink gold dial, it is a winning combo.
Yeah, I wear it on the Grand Seiko.
Okay, it's a winning combo. But for the Aqua Ocean, I'm actually because the accents and the hands are in gunmetal.
Yeah. So you're
So
going with the gray?
it's a dark pewter, so it pairs
Yeah.
well with the aqua background.
Yeah.
So the strap itself would be a dark gray.
I think that makes sense.
I think that's solid. Yeah.
I think that makes
for
sense.
for most people, the dial itself is already a little bit of
Right.
a jump in color. So you
Yeah.
kind of have to mute it down. Me,
I'd
go all in and I'd go turquoise on turquoise, but that's just me.
Yeah, but well, you could probably carry it off too. So I feel like all watches are unisex at this point.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick one out of these four that I feel would gravitate towards both sexes equally, it would be the Aqua Ocean one.
Yeah, I could see that for
definitely.
sure.
So
For sure.
But yeah, so the L2, again 10.8 millimeters thick. It's 38 millimeters top to bottom. I've redesigned the case. That is where I could put all of my design language and give it that extra oomph. So from the case itself, polished and brushed edges, chamfered. There's chamfered edges all over, from the bezel
Very nice.
down to the lugs, down to even to the pushers.
I love
So
it.
when you check out the side profile, I don't know if you could see.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, it's very obvious.
And the back, it's a flat case back. I don't want to. It's the one thing it's very hard trying to do something original. It's pretty hard.
Yeah.
In this space, because you know everybody's drawing inspiration from something, but I am a firm believer of there's a difference between drawing inspiration versus plagiarism.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. Absolutely.
Like I try not to be petty, but if I ever decided, or if I ever got to that point where I felt that I wanted to do a spoof video about some of these brands' marketing campaigns about how they get their design inspiration, it would be somebody sitting with a clipboard, tracing paper, and a picture of another watch underneath it.
I mean, there's enough of them, right? There's enough of those brands to go around.
Oh, there are. And that's something I'm trying to avoid.
No, yeah.
And I feel now with the 4 models in right now, I've managed to not copy anybody. And I feel that, okay, if I'm running out of ideas, I will probably go a year without releasing anything versus just trying to keep something in market every single year.
Yeah. Is there anybody you do draw inspiration from?
I can tell you my top 3 personal favorite brands. And I don't know if you'll see any parallels there, but my number 1 personal favorite brand is Alongo and Sona.
Okay.
My second, and these are both ties between Patek Philippe and FP Jordan.
I would have guessed Patek based on your design somewhat. I just got a very Patek vibe from it. But yeah, but all 3 great. I actually just handled my first Alonga and Zona a couple days ago. So
okay,
that was a great experience, man. They are insane.
They're incredible pieces. Definitely, I'm not playing in that same brain.
No, nobody is. Really, nobody is.
The L2 itself, the full MSRP is $450.
Right.
So MSRP is going to be $450. So early pre-sale pricing will be at a discount, of course. And after that, once it's officially stocked up, so again, I'm trying to go into production by mid-March.
Very good.
So I want to go in production and start everything in mid-March, so then I can deliver in July.
All right, folks. So you heard it here. We're gonna have our first of hopefully many watches for our charity giveaway this year. We're gonna go with the pink gold Legacy, or L2 it would be, right? L2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
L2. So the next iteration would just be L3. I'll probably just keep going with the L in the number.
Very, very cool. Thank you, man. That's a great look for us. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm always down to support. I feel like you need to give back somehow, and still be able to support different charities and causes that you believe in. And that's always one of the things with the brand. Another thing, like people are like, well, hey, do you do this full time? Unfortunately, I don't. At this time, I don't have the capacity. My
Right.
family would murder me at this point. I would get tarred and feathered if I tried doing this. Yeah, I mean, like at this point, these watches are not going to feed my kid. But
Yeah.
I have a certain number that I can hit. Like, okay, hey, if I can move, because right now I am averaging between 100 to 130 pieces a year.
Okay.
So that's what I'm averaging right now. And if I can triple that number, I'd be able to go into this full time.
That's awesome. That's like the dream, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
And when I've chatted with some other brands who've managed to make that transition, and they've all said it's been like it's a grind. You have to grind it out in the first 4 or 5 years, and after that you'll be able to get there. So I mean, there's a lot of trends within the industry, so I'm trying to just do my own thing and be as original to myself as I can, because again, the designs would always be something that I would make that I want to wear.
Right.
I don't want to come up with a design that I would not wear myself. Now, going back to what the original question, which was about an automatic version, again, based on how this one does, if I can achieve a certain goal, then I do, because the dials have gotten so much positive feedback, I want to come out with these same dials, non-chronograph, and do just a standard 3-hander with it.
Okay.
And that would be an automatic. I'm thinking either a Solita or something. And right now it's 10.8. If I went that way, I could probably get it down even thinner.
That would be amazing, right?
And with the same dial, I would have to do something just to give it a little more something, because it would just be too plain at that point. I might do
the sub registers. Yeah.
So take out the sub registers.
Yeah, even if you did something, you lose the chrono, but even if you went something like manual wind, I think those, especially given kind of the watches that you take inspiration from, like that wouldn't be too far of a stretch.
Right.
It would be so nice. And I think you could really get that super, super thin profile, and it would fit in line with kind of what your design aesthetic is already.
Right.
Manual wind would be amazing.
So my only issue, I thought about that too. My only issue would be manual wind. I would want an open case back. Open case back. Now comes the question: what do I do to the movement? I don't want a plain Jane movement.
Yeah, that's big.
I'm not gonna lie. I've bought a few Seiko movements, and I've tried to actually engrave them myself.
Yeah,
they've all went into the trash.
But you've already done a customized movement on your Descent, no?
On the Descent, I did some rotor work. Yeah. I was able to customize the rotor on the Descent. The base movement itself, it's still the Miyota 9039. However, the rotor's custom.
Yeah.
So that was my first foray into movement customization. But now that question is, with the manual wind, where would I start? Because the entire base plate, or the plate that is on the movement, like that would need to be customized somehow.
Yeah.
The engraving, and again, my inspiration would be the German design with the hand engraving with the floral patterns and such.
Yeah.
I don't have the skill set for that. I'm good at a bunch of things. That is something I am not.
Well, I mean, I know for a fact, just kind of looking at your designs and the things that you've produced so far, and obviously the feedback you've gotten, you will figure out something that's going to work best for you and your company and what you want to release for your product, whether it is automatic, whether it is manual wind. I'm sure if you decide to go into a mechanical way with these new colorways, it's going to be a home run for sure. Even if you lose the chrono, I think it's going to be great.
So that's something I want to dive into, and I'll probably call it the L-matic. If it's an automatic movement,
that's cool. I like that.
I'll call it the L-matic. And if it's a manual wind, I haven't thought that far yet. So don't know what I would name it yet, but like
L-matic is pretty good. It has a nice ring to it.
It'll sound too close to Emmanuel.
Yeah. You can't call it the L-manual. That looks weird or sounds weird. But L-matic is really nice.
Well, L-matic is close to Illmatic, like Nas. So
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I think we're all okay with that.
Yeah, we're good with that. But,
So that's again, if depending on how the L2 does, that would be the next step, because then that would also be a proper dress watch.
Yeah, for sure.
And coming from that point, then I'd still be able to keep it. So with all the watches that I come out with under the Haim brand, I want to stay under a certain price point, and initially the goal would be to stay under 700. A couple reasons.
It's nice, man.
Couple reasons. One, again, just because with the movements and everything, it's warranted to be within that price range. I would not want to jack up the price for those for the parts that you'd be able to find elsewhere for a much more affordable price. But also just as a nod, so I've done okay for myself in life. I've been, hey, I'm able to buy some higher end watches for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And not too shabby. But I also come from very, very humble beginnings.
Sure.
Never had a silver spoon or anything. I grew up in a neighborhood in Chicago that I don't think many people would want to go visit. Using the kitchen oven to heat the apartment.
Yeah.
So that's
north side or south side?
Southwest.
Okay.
And that is so. It's kind of a nod to that, just kind of an ode, because I remember when I was there at that point in my life, and I could not afford a higher end watch. However, I still wanted something that looked nice.
Yeah.
So anything I do within Haim, it would still stay within that price point for those reasons. Now the sub brand, going back into that, the whole concept of the sub brand is I'd be able to toy with higher end stuff.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought you were gonna say.
And again, with the sub brand, it would go higher. I would say probably three grand minimum.
Ooh,
but the number of pieces would be much smaller. And again, all the components would be much more premium. They would be way higher end. I would estimate about over 80% European parts. And I've started to have those conversations with certain brands and suppliers already. So I kind of know where to start there. It's just a matter of actually making something happen with Haim first before I take that leap.
Yeah, absolutely. So this would basically be the sub brand under your actual last name.
Right.
Yeah. So it makes sense. You kind of have your humble beginnings brand that represents a certain stage in your life, which is at the lower price point, something that is more affordable for the average, person, especially getting into watches. And you have the more luxurious term or tier, which would have your actual namesake. I think that's a very cool idea. I don't think anybody's done it like that before, and I think it's very cool.
So even with the Haim pieces, they still punch above their weight. So when you see the dials,
for sure,
like on the L2, the finishing of the dials themselves, you can take a loop to it. And there's people out there who compare and they nitpick pieces and they put them under a loop and tear them apart. Yep. I welcome you to try to tear these apart at $450. Mm-hmm. You will be impressed with the finishing and the detail that you'll see on these.
Yeah, that was the first thing I said to you when we hopped on was, I talk about it all the time, how much I like Grand Seiko, mainly because of their dials and their texturing and things. And I said, you do so much work with texturing, whether it might just be in the sub registers or even on the in the inner dials or something. There's always these little tidbits of different like grains or patterns. And it was something that caught my eye initially, beyond all the colors and all the different finishes and everything. I was just like, wow, like how many different textures are there on some of these dials? And there's a lot.
Yeah.
But I appreciate that. I like that a lot.
Well, it makes it look visually interesting. Yeah. And as you said, you have different indice texts here. You have different types of number texts. Again, just looking at the dial, you have a sunray finish, you have a brushing finish, you have a circular graining pattern. These are all things that are very subtle.
Did we lose you there, Schmidt?
Very subtle from a distance. But when you see them up close and you see them as a sum of their parts, it really is an attractive piece that I think a lot of people are going to enjoy having on the wrist for sure. And
also the other thing, when you talk about inspiration, I am a native Chicagoan. And what are we known for? Our skyline.
Yep.
So another thing with these designs, when you look at the watches, they have the depth given to them creates somewhat of a snow globe effect in that sense. And again, it's kind of like a mini metropolis when you look at it through a side view. So it's almost see its own skyline within the watch.
Hey, maybe that's the name for your manual one collection.
Hey, baby.
No. I said, hey, maybe that's the name for your manual one collection, the Skyline.
The sky. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't think you could use Sears because that's taken, but
I mean, that would be the L Skyline or something along that line.
Right? Comiskey's the Sox.
I am a White Sox fan. I don't think I want to get into the sports realm though. So
no, I know.
I think I would lean more towards architecture.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that's kind of what Chicago's known for, right? I mean, your architecture is some of the best in the world with regards to old historic buildings. So it totally makes sense.
And architecture, food.
Yeah.
Like Chicago it's a great city. It gets a bad rep. It's still a good city. However, the one nuance is you have to be very comfortable with the fact that the weather is terrible.
Like Windy City.
Windy City.
You know, when it's cold, it's cold. When it's hot, it's hot. And when it's really nice, it's allergy season.
Yeah.
So, screwed either way.
Yeah,
That's right. Windy City, it's not called Windy City because of the wind. It's actually called Windy City because in the 1800s, when the World Fair was in Chicago, somebody from New York, the New York Times or some reporter from a New York newspaper, they called it the Windy City because they said the politicians talk too much.
Oh, no way. I never knew that.
That's hilarious.
I found that out, and it kind of challenged everything I knew growing up.
Hey, I will say this, having been to Chicago many times during undergraduate school, I've almost been knocked over when the wind rips through the city. So it's
I got that point now where, it never bugged me until after I turned 40.
Yeah.
It's a little harder.
It's a bit hard. All of a sudden, I'm like, hey, my bones hurt more. Like, okay. Every morning now, my body sounds like Rice Krispies when I get up.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm not ready for this backwards puberty.
Nah, sucks getting old.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So, well, the answer to that is just diet and exercise.
There you go.
So I guess in the spirit of since we're talking about maturity, I guess as you've grown as a brand, what would you say is, let's talk about what's been your biggest hurdle and what has been your biggest, I guess, victory as a brand owner?
Well, the biggest victory is I would say I've actually done this.
You're still here. You started in 2020, which is no small feat, and you're still here.
2020, I'm still here. A lot of brands or people have always, I hear from people all the time, oh yeah, I thought about joining a brand. I thought about it. Okay, cool. I did it. It's growing at a snail's pace. However, I'm doing it my way. That's the other thing. Because when you talk about challenges, exposure. Yep. The industry, and again, I want to be very nice. I don't want to name names, and I don't want to sound bitter. 95% of this industry is pay to play.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it also leaves you in a catch-22 because you don't want to pay because that's not genuine. It's not authentic. But then if you don't pay, you don't go anywhere. So what do you actually do?
Right. And even at the end of the day, I mean, even traditional advertising is technically just that, right?
Well, yeah, traditional advertising is just that. However, that advertising, there are certain stats that you get with it. You get metrics.
Right.
You're able to actually see what's going on and see if there's tweaks that you can make. There's still some market research. And again, I understand that doesn't come free. But when we're talking about either a write-up through a magazine or through a site, that doesn't, a mention that necessarily typically doesn't cost that, theoretically, that shouldn't cost as much as what it does. But I also get it. The big brands are who they are going after. I understand. Because they're going after the Omegas, the Rolexes, the brands that have the money. They are going after them. But then for small brands, what do we do? Then, we get a ton of DMs. Hey, let's collab.
Yep.
Get those all the time. And I don't, okay, cool. You have a bit of a following, but what are you actually bringing to the table besides asking for free product? Like
Yeah.
the product does cost, it does cost money at the end of the day. And again, when I say I don't have a marketing budget, I don't have a marketing budget. When I started initially in 2020, I threw away so much money just throwing everything at a wall, seeing what sticks. So
Yeah.
I've tried all the online ads, the Instagram ads, the Facebook ads. I've done some of the sponsored posts with some of the bigger sites, and I've gained nothing from it.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not like if I can say, if you asked me, hey, was there any return on investment from those type of things? I didn't see any.
Yeah.
It's been getting out there, chatting with the community, meeting people. I mean, hell, I got more of a return on Kickstarter.
Yeah. Well, I think that's important. I mean, you're in Chicago, you have, wind up that happens there every year now.
Well,
To
that's the
me,
start of this. It started in 2022 for windup. So
yeah.
for Chicago, it's traditionally like Microlux. That's been
Okay.
one of the shows here. So this year, I am on board for 2 shows. So District Time in DC in March and Microlux in April in Chicago. So right now, those are the 2 that I am on for. And again, all the shows are not free to it. They're not free for brands to attend.
That I know for sure. Absolutely. I know that
So
they cost a pretty penny to get
those are,
exposure there.
it's like then when you start doing the math, like, hey, I sold X amount of watches, I have this much money now, but now this money is going to go right back into here. So, I mean, since I've started the brand, all the money has gone right back into the brand. It's not like I've been able to eating off it. It's all gone right back into the brand as far as growing product, prototyping, design, R&D, shows. So all that does cost, but it's very hard having conversations with avenues that you want to have conversations with. For example, like I would want to talk to Watch Time or a Brodinkee or something. However, I'm not there.
Money. Yeah,
I'm not
big
there.
money.
But going back into a lot of the let's collab influencers and whatnot, like I'm not sure what to make of it. I don't know what to make of it, and I try to be very respectful. But you get a lot of feedback and people asking for free watches, and I've had some cases where all of a sudden when I've declined their request for a free watch, it's gotten very nasty. So now, like, okay, do I A, let my personality shine, or
Yeah.
B, keep it cordial and just ignore it?
Right. And you always come to that crossroads because, I mean, it's so easy to take a screenshot nowadays and share it, right?
Well,
so you always got to be a little careful.
Put it this way, I am enjoying this conversation so much because I know what you're capable of with the memes. And you're how my brain thinks.
Yeah.
Like, when I look at everything is a meme in my head. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if we turn off the recording here and actually just have a free flowing conversation, I'm pretty sure all 3 of us will end up in stitches.
Oh yeah, no, I bet. I mean, even myself, I mean, from my own angle, because I'm on a little bit of the opposite side of that coin. I mean, I don't necessarily consider myself the influencer in the same vein as probably the people who are hitting you up for free products. But I mean, I have enough of a following. People pay attention when I talk, I think. I've had a lot of people approach me about stuff, and they're like, you want to work together, you want to do some collaboration, or even do you want to just contribute on something? Okay, yeah, fine. And then it'll just be like silence, and I'll be like, all right, well, like, all right, maybe they're not going through with it, maybe they got cold feet, maybe they just don't want me anymore. That's fine. But like, and then I'll hear from them again, like down the road, and they're like, oh, hey, yo, just wondering if like you were still interested. All right, yeah, like it's just been I guess communication has like been probably my biggest frustration, in that like I'm a very like get things done person. So like if we sit down and we have like, and I'm not talking about it was like one DM sneakily, like I've sat down and had Zoom calls with people face to face, like multiple, where we're like, all right, we're gonna work together, we're gonna do this. Like I've been bounced ideas off them and stuff, and like sent like follow-up DMs. And it's just been either like flaky communication or like glacial pace of I don't know what you'd call it, just like the way things unfold. I don't know. I guess it's probably my own profession showing through, because it's all about just getting things done and like staying on schedule, and timing is everything. Like that's probably a little bit of my own issues, but for me, that's what gets me. If we're going to do something, I want to do it the whole way. I want to knock it out of the park, and I want it to be, I want it to look legit the whole way around. I don't really like to cut corners. I don't like to make second rate stuff, at least in my opinion. So I get where you're coming from. Like I understand, like you have people, and especially when people are coming up, like I've always tried to err on the side of humility, like
Of
I
course.
would, I was, when I meet people, whatever, Red Bar or something, and they're like, oh my God, you're you. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like, I'm not really anybody. Like I'm not, I never really, I don't really play up the whole thing. I appreciate everybody. I love that I have such a high amount of followers or whatever, but at the end of the day, it's not that important to me. You have people who have a small amount, and they're like, oh, I'm an influencer. I have pull. And I'm like, okay, like sure, if you say
What I
so, like
started doing,
but like when you're talking, who's listening, right? Like, but those are the people who are trying to strong arm you for something for
Yeah.
free. And again, you're thinking return on investment, and you're like, not for nothing, you're 998 followers. I'm sure they're quality, but like, conversion rates and everything, even if I get 5% of that, how much am I really getting? Right. Like
right.
that's a high percentage.
Well, that's the thing. So two things. One, as far as reviews, I don't want to pay. I don't want to pay for reviews.
Right.
That's something, and that's been another. Like when I've had conversations with different publications, I'm not going to name names. Even just for a review, that becomes, well, hey, you need to. There's a bundle package you would need to purchase from us for X amount.
God.
That doesn't. I just want a review. I'm not looking to advertise. I want one of your writers to just spend time with the watch and let me know their thoughts. Just write out a couple paragraphs about what they thought about the watch. So the reviews that I actually do have, they're all out there in public, and they are not paid for. So and some are good. I had one that was pretty hurtful. That was at the very beginning, but you know what? It is what it is. You learn and you move on. And also, I was able to see, like, okay, hey, that kind of makes sense. Like I understand where that person is coming from.
Yeah.
So no hard feelings. Let's move on. Let's keep it moving.
You know what, though? I think that gives you integrity, though. I think
So,
that A, you didn't get it taken down. B, it shows that you're not just out here greasing people for good publicity. Right.
Right.
So
I just won't do it. Even right now, the L2's being reviewed by people. I have it in review rotation right now, and same deal. It's like, hey, here's the watch. I'm not giving anybody a watch. Like I'm not giving. I don't give out free watches. Spend some time with it. If you want it back, like if you send it back once you're done. Now, however, I have done this for people who spend time with the watch. Like, hey, if you are genuinely interested, I'll give you my friends and family hookup. Like I have when friends and family, I just don't want to charge them full price if they say, hey, I want to buy a watch from me.
Yeah.
So I kind of have a separate coupon code for friends and family in that sense. So it's like, if you spend time with the watch, you've published your thoughts on it, and you have a genuine interest in having one, sure, you know what, I'll give you that hookup there.
Yeah.
But nothing that's done beforehand or anything. That's not a way I'd operate. But what I've done with the influencers, it's kind of the same deal. I've started responding to all of them with, hey, this is where I am as a brand, and this is where I intend to go. However, this is what I will do. Because my first question is, I need metrics. Like, what are you actually showing? What is your worth? What is your worth of what you're doing? What is your return? Like, what's your engagement? Like, do you have actual stats?
And that's huge. Those are very, very big questions. 95%,
I'd say don't.
Yeah.
Well, especially in this age, I don't know if you know, you can buy follows nowadays. You can buy follows, and you can even buy like Fugazi engagement. Like you can get likes. Yeah. Comments are obviously going to be hard to generate because even the best AI and bots aren't going to be able to generate engaging comments, but you can buy likes, you can buy follows, and you can see it. There's all kinds of apps. There's like Social Blade and things like that. There used to be a really good free one that got shut down. I don't know why, but where you could track somebody's engagement rates, where you could track, it would even tell you like the percentage of their following that they estimated was fake. Like these things are big, especially in an age where you're charging people like from the standard, like the standard influencer playbook. They tell you charge penny per follow. So if you're jacking up your follows, buying them, now you're charging somebody penny per follow. Like that's a big difference. Whereas compared to what your true metrics are.
Like if that social currency is fake, then it really doesn't help anybody.
No, not at all.
So when I start asking for metrics, then the conversations usually stop. They stop responding. Okay, cool. But then the ones that do respond, I've told all of them, hey, this is what I will do. You buy, if you are this interested, if you have this much, if you love the watch the way that you do, please buy one. I'll give you 25% off. And I'll give you a coupon code then that you can share to your followers. And if X amount of people purchase, I will refund you. So now you have your free watch.
I think that that's a really solid way to do it.
And then it's crickets. Nobody responds.
No,
well,
people, it's all about cash in hand, right? That's like the way the world works.
Well, and again, this is
people that have took me up on it, and they've actually, and now I've started to actually see, like, hey, you know what they do? They do what they are saying that they would do. Yeah. However, it's just vetting. It's vetting the people and finding, because it really is a needle in a haystack.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, think of it this way. I mean, you asked us earlier about why we had the name that we have for our podcast, and a lot of it was a similar reason. Bro has been adamant about this from the very beginning. He's like, look, the follows that I have, they're all genuine, legitimate follows. Like, there's no bots, there's no paid for. Like, these are all people that I've organically grown, right? That's something that at the very core of who he is as an influencer, in quotes, he's been very passionate about making sure is not the case. He wants everybody that follows him to be a real, genuine person.
And I'll be straight. If I get a bot comment or something, I'll delete the follower. I don't want it. I don't want any of that plaguing my posts.
It's just for us. It's about transparency, and that's why we wanted to call this place, Wrist Cheese Radio, because we understand that the watches are gorgeous, and there are things that about the industry that's sometimes rose tinted glasses, but we also know that there's a dark underbelly, ugly side to the industry too, that we all kind of dance around. We all know is there, and some people play into it and they thrive in it, and others try to stay on the outskirts of it. And we've tried to be as objective as possible without, really disparaging anybody.
Right.
But for us, integrity is very important. We wanted to make sure we started a podcast that was going to be genuine. We didn't want to pay for reviews. We didn't want to do if you want to send us a watch first to review it, cool. We'll review it. We'll send it back to you. Nobody's done that yet. Nobody's taken us up on that offer yet. But for us, it's all about integrity. If you want an honest, objective review, or you want us to talk about your brand in an honest, objective way, then we will. But give us the opportunity to do it.
Let's piggyback on that really quick. So when I do donate a pink gold L2 to you guys for your raffles, if you do decide that you want to review the piece, whatever you're going to say, you're going to say. I have no control over. So ultimately, if everything you've seen so far, if it serves not to be true in person, you say whatever you got to say.
I think that's fair.
I think that's more than fair. And I'll be honest with you, in seeing the things that you held up in the prototype form, I like it a lot. So I'm sure that it's going to live up, if not meet my expectations, to exactly what I think it's going to be.
And it's right now it's making rounds during with reviews. So I have a list of people who have expressed interest in reviewing the watch, and it's just making its rounds through them.
Yeah.
So that's where that is. And right now, ultimately, I'm grateful. I've been able to build a small community. My base is about, I'd say, about a good 1,100, 1,200 people.
That's solid.
But you know what? Hey, I've built it since 2020, and it's a small base that I interact with. And a lot of the brand is word of mouth. I mean, these are people that have bought watches before. I mean, it's a really awesome feeling when I have someone post a picture of their collection, and it's just all of my watches from the first one on.
Yeah, that's very.
That has to be such a good feeling. It has to be such a good feeling.
I'm just like, man, you know what? If you were next to me, I'd give you a hug.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's another thing that's something that I'm proud of with what I've been able to accomplish so far with the brand. However, again, it's just scaling the brand is a feat. If you don't have a backer, because honestly, if you invest with, even having discussions with marketing companies and just trying to get to the next step, it's going to be like, okay, hey, well, you're going to need to figure out a way to put 50 to 75K of your own out of your own pocket, or have a backer somehow. And I'm being very conservative with that number.
Yeah, for sure. Sky's the limit, really, on these prices.
Yeah.
Right. But So, I mean, again, with the brand where I want to go, again, for Haim itself, the next thing would be based on how the L2 does. I do want to come up with a dress with the time only version of the L2, whether it's automatic or manual, that's still up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
So then, of course, then I want to scale into the actual brand with my last name. And that, what I have right now for renders, it is gorgeous. It's just a matter of investing and bringing it to life. Because
Yeah.
what I would do is I would probably do a run of the first model. I would probably do 40 pieces, 30 in
Oof.
steel and 10 in precious metal.
I like it a lot.
Heck yeah, that's
And,
awesome.
and
That's
that would
a
be,
bold move right there.
and that would be it. And but again, I'd have to find 40 people who are really interested in it, because now, you know what? Now I'm asking for $3,000. I'm asking for 3,500.
Yeah.
And now it's like, okay, hey, do you trust me and my brand enough? When you know for 3 or 3,500, you can still go with an Omega or go with a Tudor, or you can still go somewhere else.
Yeah.
So now it's that question, and I understand that. Again, being part of the community, you see that people have those conversations, and also I do know. So everybody who trusts my brand, I'm extremely grateful for.
Yeah. Well, and it shows in how you speak about your clients, and it shows about how you handle the back end with regards to influencers and marketing. I mean, you are a one-stop shop in everything that you do, and you are your brand.
Pretty much.
And your brand, even though Haim is a little bit different than your actual last name, even though it's spelled backwards, it's still in many ways your namesake. And I can see with how you talk about your brand, how proud you are of it, and it shows, and I know that that's reflective and carries through to your product. So I can't wait to see the watch when it finally gets to us, and I'm sure whoever our listener is, and by the end of this year, they'll have a new happy Haim on their wrists, and it's going to be great for everybody. I can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, the goal is to get production started by mid-March, if not sooner.
Yeah.
Sooner is always better. So what I would recommend, or what I would encourage people to do, is once you go to www.haimwatchco.com, there's going to be a sign-up page. When you get to the product, you can just drop your email address. And for those that are interested, I will email a specific link with pricing. Like, hey, if you're interested in the early pre-Kickstarter pre-sale, that would probably be the best price I'll ever offer this watch at.
Yeah,
that's where you strike.
You'd be able to get. So that's what you would be able to get. Again, you're getting a beautiful chronograph with a premium strap. So I mean, the strap alone is upwards of $100 there.
Yeah,
so
they're not inexpensive.
Not cheap.
No. So you're getting a very premium package for the price. So the value proposition will definitely be there. And at that point, just based on how many people, because again, when some questions come up, well, hey, how come as a brand you don't have capital? Well, that's not necessarily saying that we don't have capital. However, this also does two things. One, it gauges interest. And also it's a standard practice within the industry.
Yeah.
Pre-orders. It's very standard, but also it gauges interest. And again, as a brand, which we were talking about earlier before we started recording, I struggle with two things: watch collector brain and business brain.
Yeah.
Business brain is, you know what? Make 500 to 1,000 units, sell them for cheap, move them out the door. Just keep cranking them out. That's it. Whereas watch collector brain is kind of like, well, no, I want it to be limited. I want to have something that not everybody has, and I want it to be one of 150 or 250 pieces, or even 50 pieces. So I want mine to be very limited. And as a small brand, my goal is actually to not have inventory. My goal is not to retain inventory.
Yeah.
And for a brand of my size, I don't want to retain inventory. I have parts and things on hand, but I don't want to keep them. The goal is to get rid of them. The goal is to keep getting rid of them. And if I have to re-up and do second batches or third batches, then so be it. I mean, I would rather have that than just having excess inventory, because, this industry, things move fast. Every year, brands are coming out with new models, and like it's become the same thing as clothing, where you have to keep updating the fashion. And watches necessarily don't update. It's just the conversation. Everything is so fast in that you can have great traction with a new release and be in the eye and it'd be forgotten about tomorrow.
Yeah, it's very, what have you done for me lately?
Yeah.
Thank you for saying it in much fewer words than what it just took me to pass 35 seconds to say. So,
That's my specialty. I have one little box with enough space to get a message across, and that's what I do. So
there you go. There you go.
so so again, I don't want to have the inventory. So again, so when I gauge interest, I can gauge interest in how many people are actually interested in having this piece, and then I can produce it. Once I can produce it, and again, even when you have conversations with suppliers, now you're getting into minimum order quantities and those type of things. But what I have done, I've not, to this point with what I've been trying to produce, I have not met minimum order quantities. So what ends up happening when you don't meet minimum order quantities, you pay more per part.
yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now my actual cost, so now you're looking at a watch I've done like, oh, well, hey, why is it this cost? I'm like, well, you know what, my actual cost is probably double what my peers is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for that reason, rightfully so. And that's also because I'm producing a smaller number. And of course, I want to grow the number, but at the same time, I want to grow the number and not have that excess inventory a year from now, where even a year from now, if there's 5 or 10 pieces on hand or whatever, that's great. I don't want to sit on 100 pieces a year from now.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially when I have ideas and things that I'm trying to do to add newer designs.
Yeah. So would you say, I guess, if you had to put a goal on 2023 for you, obviously we're talking L2s. Is there anything else you're trying to accomplish within this, I guess, calendar year?
For this calendar year, 3 things. If I can get these 3 things done, it would be a very, very successful year. Knock L2 out of the park.
Yeah.
Set motion for the Elmatic tentatively.
Mm-hmm.
And also actually be able to have something to start a brand strategy campaign. To be able to actually allocate resources into at least getting everything on the same page as far as the website and the socials, and just revamping the appearance to something that's much cleaner.
Yeah.
To be able to get that done, and that's a very minimal marketing touch to it. But if I could at least get those 3 things done, it would have been an incredibly successful year.
And while we're there, why don't we plug your socials real quick? Because you have a YouTube, you have an Instagram.
Yep, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. It's all Haim Watch Co. That's HAIMWATCHCO. So Instagram at Haim Watch Co. YouTube, it's youtube.com /@Haim Watch Co. Same thing at Facebook. I admittedly, I am the most active on Instagram. I do a terrible job at Facebook.
I think most watch people are very active on Instagram. It's kind of like the older generation that's more active on Facebook.
Straightforward.
Well, for microbrands, it's the opposite, actually. They are the most active on Facebook.
Interesting.
There's a ton of microbrand groups on Facebook, and every time I post, I always end up apologizing. Okay, I'm sorry. I know I should be more active on here. I know I'm not. I'm a horrible human being. I mean, it's not that I have anything against the groups. I don't. The conversations are great. It's just, I don't like Facebook.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you on that. I used to be part of a lot of watch groups on Facebook, and I've systematically started walking back a lot of my affiliations with them over the years. And Instagram is honestly where I find home. I also find like it's a better, more poignant way to reach brands, to reach people behind brands, and to talk and collaborate. All you gotta do is slide into a DM and you're there. And if they respond, and they great. If not, then you move on. So
I mean, there's so much more to keep up with on Facebook.
Correct.
And between running the brand, between having a family, between having an actual profession, like time, there's 24 hours is already not enough time. So,
yeah.
I mean, right now we're having this conversation while the kids are it's already their bedtime. So I mean, otherwise, if we tried having this at 5 p.m., I mean, my daughter would be here with me screaming, "Papa, Papa!"
Yep.
So, but yeah, those are all the socials. Same thing with Twitter at Haim Watch Co. I am the most active on Instagram. I do a terrible job at the others. And again, I like if I 2024, a goal for 2024 was to at least be able to bring on a paid intern for social media management.
Oh, okay, I like it. Now that's a good goal to have. That's
That is a good
goal.
goal. That is a good
That
goal.
could be like your most valuable employee, right? Your first employee hire, social manager.
Just an intern, somebody to manage the social media stuff, because there are certain things I'm in my 40s, man. I am not going to do a TikTok. Don't expect
Oh, I totally feel that, bro. Oh my God.
me. Like, I just cannot get the concept of trying to keep a straight face and do a dance routine in front of your camera.
That or sit there and point at words all over the place.
Right.
And
It's so funny, but you know what? We all watch it at some point, and we're all just like, why?
and it's
Why
a
are we
new
wasting
branch
our
of
time?
marketing, man. It is, because even like every once in a while I'll get crazy and I'll just like browse like social media, kind of like those type of jobs, like people who run social accounts. I'm like, I'm pretty good at this. Why wouldn't, let me see what's out there? And it's like you have to be fluent in TikTok and you have to know all these like silly trends. I'm like, well, I'm out.
Oh yeah. I mean, I figured I was out once I've started to see the amount of gray hair I have. I'm like, yeah,
Right behind you, boss.
when
I guess that's one metric to look at, right?
well, no, the main metric is when the heated seats in your car is not for staying warm, but for relieving back pain.
Oh no.
Oh no. That is a first. I think that is a first for sure on Rich G's radio.
Oh man. No, so God, is there anything else we needed to touch on? Again, L2 officially announced today on the 30th, and again, it's at www.haimwatchco.com. If you go to the product page, choose L2, you can read all about it. You can see all the specs, all the features, the different dials, the pictures. They're all over my or the brand's social media. And anybody who is interested in actually pre-ordering, just drop your email. I will get back. And again, the pricing is going to be the best it will be.
Yeah.
Very minimal margins. So
there you go. You heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it here.
Again, I want to offer, it's going to be because once everything shifts to MSRP, I will not be doing a 4-watch bundle at that point.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
During the freestyle, there will be all 4, and I'll be making a custom watch roll, so it'll be one roll to hold all 4. So it's like you could take your collection with you.
Yeah.
And when you see all 4 side by side, it actually tells you, like, you can actually vision where you would wear what piece.
It's a story. It's a story. It's you pick the watch for the emotion that you are that day, and what statement you want to tell the world as you get ready to leave your house. I think that's a very cool thing. And I don't know too many brands that have done a bundle like that, of all different models in one cohesive collection. I think that's very cool.
I mean, I can say this. I can definitely say it would be all 4, again, premium straps, the case, the whole 9, and it would definitely be under $1,500.
For I don't know many watches you can get for under $1,500 these days by any
let
stretch.
alone 4.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
let alone 4.
And these are and again, the finishing on them, they are. I say this as someone who, as a collector myself, like when I look at these, I would not assume that they are MSRP 450. Yeah. And I've heard the same thing about my previous models too. And again, just to talk about those really quick, I don't think I'm discontinuing them anytime soon. They are different for different purposes. Because again, the casing on the L2 is 38 millimeters. There are people who insist on having a bigger watch. The original Legacy and the Legacy SE are 39.5.
Yeah,
So
I saw that.
If you want a bigger watch, then that would be the one you'd want to go with. But these are 38. And again, in this industry right now, new is always better. And unless you're into vintage pieces, then that would be quite the opposite sentiment. But
yeah,
you know what I'm trying to say. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I know you know what I'm trying to say.
No, I mean there's a lot of size preferences just throughout, but I think everybody's kind of gravitating towards that sweet spot 38, 39 nowadays, where you're getting a little bit of extremes on both sides, the 36s, 37s, you're getting 42, 43, 41-ish, but most people are gravitating between 38 and 40 now. Sizes are kind of coming into that because everybody can wear it at that point. Everybody can
enjoy it. So
I think it's a smart move.
Do you remember the 58 millimeter diesels?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we talked about that a few episodes ago, especially the ones with like the 4 time zones or whatever. Each one had like 4 different crowns.
Yes.
This is ridiculous.
Yes.
I mean,
Ridiculous.
I'm at the point now where even a 42 makes me feel like I have Flavor Flav's clock on my wrist.
I like this. This has easily had the most old school rapper references in a single episode. So
Yeah,
this is good.
yeah,
I'm
for
enjoying
sure.
this one a lot.
Why don't we end it with, you know what? Between not necessarily touching on an era, just top 5 that you could think of.
Rappers, all time?
Yeah, I'd say within the 90s and the early 2000s.
I mean, you're obviously gonna have to throw Biggie and Pac in there. I'm a
Yeah.
big Nas fan, being from New York.
Yeah.
See, here's where it gets tough because you got Jay-Z, who at that time was not that big. He's huge now. I mean, he's like a all-timer now, right? I'm a Slim Shady fan. You got, and then what do you do with the Wu, right? They have how many members, right? You got Ghostface, Method Man, right? I can go on forever. I mean, I'm a white kid from the suburbs, but like, yeah, it's tough. It's tough because
we talk about groups. I mean, if you want to get into groups, it's going to be Wu-Tang, it's going to be EPMD.
Sure.
Pete Rock, CL Smooth. You could even throw in Dilated People. So now, if you want to cover East and West, then possibly even the Far Side.
Right.
Or if you get into Texas and get into the Ghetto Boys. So
Tribe Called Quest. I mean, there's so much. There's so much, but yeah, this has definitely been a lot of fun. And you and I have known each other a fairly long time. I mean, we've gone back and forth.
Had a lot of
how long?
Yes. Been a lot of stuff that I hope those DMs never get leaked.
No, trust me. If I write a book, I've got the dirt on everybody. So maybe when I'm ready to hang it up, I'll do a memoir. Yeah. I'll do the tell
memoirs of a meme lord.
Yeah, let me.
You already got the title too, right?
Memoirs of a meme lord. It would be so good. That. It would be so good.
The tell-all book of the watch industry.
But yeah, no, this has been a lot of fun, and
it has been.
Thank you for coming on. Obviously, thank you for your generosity. We're gonna wind up raffling off that pink dial, which is gonna be amazing. And yeah, it'll be cool. We'll be able to give you sort of our feedback on it. And I think from all our accounts, I think it's gonna be great. I mean, again, it's great to have sort of different people review it and check it out. And I don't think it'll be any different for us. But yeah, it's been great. And we wish you nothing but the best here in 23.
Thank you. This has been a fun conversation. So
yeah,
if you want to do this again, let me know. I'm always down.
Yeah, maybe once you get you get that whole spiel out of the way and you get into that higher end, maybe we can really turn up the volume on it.
Okay, sounds good.
That sounds awesome. All right, Zakir, thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right.
I was about to call you by your name, but no, you know what?
It's all right. People know it by now. It's cool.
Schmidt or Schmitty?
Either way.
All right, Schmitty, bro. Hey, it's been a pleasure.
Pleasure's all ours. Thank you.
Hey, thank you.